Hello everybody, I am Technovoid, your host and load-bearing column to your happiness, and with me is Hamsterwings, your favorite Pokemon analyst.
Hey,
we are here today with week 1 of TDD Season 6. A lot of new players this week, super excited to see some of these matches. How are you doing? How are you feeling about this week? We haven't seen all the matches yet, we still got one, but we do have 3 matches to show you here today.
This week has been
a bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah, surprising in a lot of ways.
It's been a bit of a mixed bag. We've had some players that generally perform well, that perform less well, and we had some sort of mix-ups, I think. Especially,
yeah, I got 6-0'd.
That it did happen. Any general thoughts overall before we get straight into our first match here?
Not really.
Okay, cool. Well, so for this first match, we've got the Unqrillables versus Help. Help, I believe, is very, very new to competitive battling altogether. So we wanted to go ahead and sort of review this match, give some advice, sort of how these things played out. Looking at these two teams here, what are you thinking? Obviously, I think Unqrillables, we've sort of already discussed this in large part during the team review, but what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely kind of jumps out that, like, half the team's weak to electric.
Right,
but,
for sure.
The Iron Bundle is packing Terra Ground. It makes a lot of sense. I think it might do that fairly often.
I would not be surprised to see that.
Very fast team, with the exception of Iron Hands and Slowbro, but it's clearly into what seems like a Trick Room matchup.
Yeah.
So what I'd be, I guess, scared of if I was Crow is, like, you know, turn 1, like, doubling into your Trick Room setter, because this team's very fast. Anything like that, really. As for Crow, I think he kind of has to play smart around Glastrier and around Ampharos, for the most part. He's got to get Ampharos in during Trick Room, you know. It'll kind of take over the game. It will threaten Delibird even with... It's not a Delibird. But
Bundle,
it'll threaten Delibird even with the Terra Ground. And, yeah, Amoonguss is also big for getting Trick Room up.
Does it learn that? It doesn't, right? It's just to support it?
No, just with, like, Rage Powder and Pollen Puff and stuff.
Right, okay. And the TR setters here are Rune Regis and Mimikyu, right?
Yep.
Okay, alrighty. Let's get straight into it then. So this is actually a pretty important first turn, I think. I think this is a first turn that caught a lot of people off guard. We do have Kotard leading here with a pretty, like, simplistic Trick Room lead. I think it works very well here. And this is where... So we see the Terra Ground. I think that's a very good Terra type here. And we have the Helping Hand Mind Blown. I think that could have majorly backfired if Kotard did not lead with Glastrier. But as it stands, I think that's actually, you know, on Matt's part, actually, like, had that not happened, not quite sure what the play would have been in terms of switching, but I think
it's interesting, because I think I personally would have double switched there, and it might have been even worse.
Even worse? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, just...
Right. A good intuition to protect with Ampharos. I don't know how you knew that, but it was good.
Yeah, no Mega, though.
Yeah, calling the Terra Ground, but no Mega. Sub is kind of a move I just don't like in doubles.
But it does let it get up the Swords Dance, though, yeah.
I think if you just raw Swords Danced, you would have been a lot better off.
Perhaps. At this point, we have the Amoonguss in.
In comes Amoonguss. You definitely, especially with a setup type null, you want to see some kind of redirection coming out here.
Yeah, unfortunately, we get the double miss on the rock slide, which is super unfortunate.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a theme in the highlights this week, is that Rock Slide is a bit of an overrated move this week.
We see the death there. At this point, Kotard definitely playing really far from behind. Math making, you know, very good use of the electric terrain on this team with Hands and Bundle. Blacephalon putting in some serious work, and at this point, I mean, Kotard really doesn't have a win con. I think it's very, very unlikely he can make something of this. It's just differential game at this point.
Yeah. Mimikyu going for Shadow Claw instead of Trick Room. I think I still personally would have set up Trick Room here.
Yeah, because maybe you could then get, like, a kill, right?
Yeah, even in the late game, I would always go for something like Trick Room.
Especially when you have Protect on it. You have Protect and you have Disguise. Like, I just think it's useful. Interesting use of Confuse Ray here. We have not really seen any Confuse Ray in the league thus far.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, probably not a good call. Play Ref here, pretty good. Mimikyu's Disguise still up. Obviously,
yeah, I just think setting up Trick Room would have been so much better. It would have won you back some differential.
Yeah.
Confuse Ray, it's just unreliable, and unreliable is the reason why Swagger is banned.
And the Disguise goes down.
Yep.
Mimikyu still could, at this point, probably get a kill here if it
didn't get parried.
If it didn't get parried, yeah. Even on the next turn, could it have... No, well, it doesn't get parried there. If it's the Confuse Ray went for the Play Rough, I think that's a differential point.
Yeah, the Play Rough on Iron Hands would have at least been a roll to pick up the KO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Plus, it would have then died to Rocky Helmet.
Yeah. So that's match. So I definitely think, honestly, props to Math on this team for that Helping Hand Mind Blown set. I think it really was dependent on Crow's lead. It really was dependent on if Crow switched or protected there. That being said, I think that's sort of a, it's an element of surprise, right? And I think it worked very well. Gave him a very, very strong momentum going into this fight. How do you think, other than sort of really focusing on getting that Trick Room up, like, as soon as that was over with Mimikyu, what else do you think Kotard could have done to sort of reverse the field?
I think using Amungus's power to kind of sway where all the targeting is going would have been a great help. Protecting on the first turn would have won you a lot. I kind of expect that when a TR setter is out, the other Pokemon next to it is going to protect.
Yeah, that's probably pretty fair.
So I actually thought the Mind Blown play was very, very risky because in my mind, Glastrier was certainly going to protect there.
That's true. That's a good point. That is a very good point. Yeah, because you are losing. Yeah, because if that Glastrier doesn't go down, that Mind Blown really worked well because it managed to get rid of the Terra Glastrier. Had it not done that, that Glastrier was just taking over the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in big part, I think you make a great point about the Amoonguss. Amoonguss, I think, was sort of what this match potentially centered around, because after Math got that very, very early sort of momentum lead, it came down to bringing the game back to neutral, right? Back to sort of this neutral momentum, like preventing Math from continuing to snowball off of this like immediate surprise lead, and Kotard just wasn't able. We've had a couple matches this week that ended up like devolving into like wet noodle fights. I don't think we talk about any of them today, but a few of them did devolve into that. If Kotard could bring this match to like a sort of wet noodle fight state, sort of get that electric terrain off the field, get those threats off the field, sort of bait in that Mega Slowbro, who is honestly probably not doing all that much, all things considered, I think Kotard could have potentially gotten more differential, potentially even won the match. But that, I think, it comes down to just playing more game, recognizing game states better, which is all just a part of the learning process.
Yeah.
Okay. Any final thoughts on these two?
No, I think that about covers the main points. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and props to Math here. I kind of have a lot of issues with the team in general. Think he played around the weaknesses pretty well in just sort of a very, very offensive mindset, right? Just really killing everything before Crow has a chance to take advantage of Math's insane number of sort of defensive holes.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you have to do with a team like this.
Yeah, pretty much. Alrighty, so let's get into our second quick match of the week. We have Burnt versus Nedgem, two newcomers to TDD.
Yeah, so on Team Preview, you get a lot here. You get the entirety of Ned's team, like all of it. You know all of it off Team Preview.
Pretty much.
You know exactly what it's going to do. And then you look at Burnt's and you're like, what on earth is going on here?
Is that like a good or a bad one on Earth? Like an unpredictable or like a weird synergy?
There are so many like mini archetypes within this team preview that I don't think there's anything to reasonably prep for, like mid-match prepping wise. Trick Room might be on your mind just because you are an inherently fast team if you're Ned.
Yes.
So there's always that to think about, but the one setter being Farigiraf.
Farigiraf, yeah.
If you're burnt, I think you kind of know the opponent's game plan a little bit. There are a lot of things within that game plan, of course, but you know that Sand is important. You know that Dracovish is important. You know that Diancie is important. And a lot of those do lose to Trick Room, so because of that, I would think, if only for that reason, I would be wary of the Farigiraf carrying Trick Room, which Ned is.
Or burnt.
No, Ned is aware.
Oh, Ned is aware. I see. I thought you were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. I thought you meant Ned was carrying the Trick Room. All right, let's pop on into it. And we got a Grimmsnarl Farigiraf lead here, I believe. Yep. Versus.
Yeah. So this turn one is interesting to me in a lot of ways.
Do tell.
So first of all, we see the poison T-Tar, which gets faked out. I like the fake out there. I think the turn went about perfect for Burnt.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
like all of the prep was in play. Everything went out exactly like it should. Burnt now has the momentum. In comes Primarina, and Persian actually kind of turns it into a wet noodle by hitting it with Parting Shot.
Parting Shot, yeah. Although it does still have the, what is it, the Liquid Voice throat spray here to sort of bring it back up to neutral, which is nice.
It does, yeah. Persian comes back in right away. I like the T-Tar switch out because Reflect is up.
Makes sense.
Spirit Break into the Zapdos, very good. Lowering that special attack, causing something like that. It could have potentially been in range to die to Sand if you didn't lower that. Farigiraf comes in when there are 2 turns left on the Trick Room. It kind of makes sense, I think. And it prevents the fake out.
Prevents the fake out. That's pretty huge.
Yep, allowing you to pick up a kill on Persian. Very good up to this point. To me, at this point, it's kind of very obvious that Farigiraf is going to protect so that the Trick Room ends, so that it can set it back up.
Right.
So I would go whole hog into Primarina at this point.
Yeah, trying to get rid of that, but okay.
Now here's a crazy play. Grimmsnarl comes back in, which is a little worrying because it's being brought in front of a poison type. But Roar to cancel Trick Room.
It's pretty big.
Yeah.
I mean that's TR prep right there.
Now at this point, we have the double fake out turn, which I like. It's the next turn that I really don't like. Because, pause it for a sec.
Uh-huh.
So, what you have here is like this weird triangle. Chestnut beats Kangaskhan. Tyranitar beats Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl beats Chestnut. Kangaskhan beats Tyranitar. So, Kangaskhan is the fastest thing on this field. You have to kill T-Tar here. You have to. You might lose your Kangaskhan, but one of 2 things is happening in that T-Tar slot. T-Tar just protected. It can't protect again. Sand is not up. So T-Tar going down means no more Sand ever. So naturally, I think the play would be to switch T-Tar here.
Right.
Maybe sack Zapdos would probably be the play because Primarina is low. But either way, it's a free double into that slot. Or if not double, just Kanga, and then Grimmsnarl can go into the other slot. Because anything that comes in is dying. Kanga hitting the Tyranitar with a normal move is killing it. Kanga hitting the sack with a normal move is killing it. You have to like use your normal stab to attack Tyranitar on this turn. So Rock Slide comes out here. Ned potentially unknowingly risking the whole game, letting Tyranitar be susceptible to KO here. It's not necessarily the whole game. Your Diancie's still fine, your Zapdos is still fine, but Dracovish is kind of voided as a threat if T-Tar goes down there.
And this is where the Diancie comes in. Yeah, I think this is a good point about the Rock Slide just not being... I mean, sure, you get the flinch there, but it's not doing enough damage. Kanga needs to be doing more.
Yeah.
And the TR
Kanga needs to be firing off either those seismic tosses or those returns, whatever it may be.
There's Primarina barely living the body press there, but it doesn't matter. In fact, it's actually probably worse because it gives Diancie more defense.
Yep, and now you need a special attacker to defeat Diancie, and Primarina's gone. If Kanga is carrying Seismic Toss, it is still a good way to deal with it, but it's hard at this point, especially with Chess not being allowed to stay on the field for the whole time.
Yeah, now it's toxic, so at some point it's going to have to leave, but fake out into that slot there, that's rough.
I'm so surprised that Diancie is not the priority target here.
Yeah, it seems like it would be. 2x defense, honestly, like the lack of Mega here, ton of sense. Great play on Ned's part, keeping that sort of bulkier, slower set while the TR is up.
Yeah. See, and that's why you need a special attacker. That Iron Head did nothing. That's a 4 times weakness, and it did nothing.
Yeah, now Burnt is down to the double. The TR is down.
TR is down, which is a perfect time for Dragapult to come in if there wasn't a Diancie right there that's going to kill it.
But we got that Steel Terror Blast, baby.
Indeed.
Good prep there.
Yeah.
Came a bit late. The double burn here is hilarious.
Yeah, just imagine this Dragapult late gaming if T-Tar was down.
I mean,
nothing stops it.
That's true, yeah, because now the sand is back up, which now means that, you know, honestly, could have just sent in Dracovish here. That would have been game,
yeah,
really.
Dracovish would be online. It would be kind of impossible to deal with.
Yeah, that would have just been game. Alas, it's on the body press there. And at this point, the game is pretty much set. It's just a matter of, like, differential.
Yeah.
Do get the kill there.
Pickup. Yep, that's all good. I'm surprised Dracovish never came out at any other point in the game, but if T-Tar had gone down on that turn, Dracovish might have became a dead slot.
Yeah, because it's just not fast
really.
enough.
It's obviously still doing damage, but it can't do its Dracovish things.
Yeah, unless it is scarfed, which it might be. I don't know, but it does not have the requisite speed to do.
Yeah, Scarf Sand Rush. I mean, it could be, but it doesn't strike me as the best play.
I mean, all it really
it's
needs to use
worst.
is Vicious Rend, yeah. The only thing it doesn't really want to use Vicious Rend on is, like, I don't know, Primarina, I guess?
That thing's taken, like, 80.
Okay, well, either way. So, this is basically the end of the match. We have some pretty funny Sand Veil shenanigans. Burnt actually, obviously Burnt already knows this, could have gotten the extra diff here on the Chestnut. With the Protect on this turn. Wasn't aware of how the sort of Protect chance worked out on a failure.
Yeah, if Protect fails, the next turn it will always succeed.
Yeah, but so sort of as you were saying, sort of big turning point in this match was the T-Tar going down earlier.
Yeah.
And sort of having that Kanga. I do think you make a great point about Rock Slide kind of just almost screwing over Burnt in a lot of ways, because it's just not enough damage. You need the Kanga to be more threatening than it is.
I know people like, mainly VGC players will say, like, oh, Rock Slide's the most annoying move in the game. It's annoying, that doesn't really necessarily mean it's good.
Yeah, and I mean, and the other thing about Rock Slide, it really depends on you winning the speed war. If you have something like Dracovish out on the field, it's not useful.
Yeah.
Not that Dracovish was on the field, but Rock just seemed kind of like a strange type to bring here outside of Zapdos.
I understand bringing Rock Slide. I just would have stuck to your normal stabs there, especially because T-Tar didn't resist them.
True, yeah, because it was a poison type, like Return or something, the double Return.
Yeah, or Seismic Toss.
That's not a normal stab, but yeah.
It does 200 damage.
This is true. Alrighty, okay. Any final notes here for Burnt and Ned moving into future weeks? I think
No, I hope that was informative.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear just from this one match that Ned has a good idea of what they're looking to do with this Sand team.
Yeah.
So honestly, props to that. Burnt, I think honestly for a first showing, I wasn't sure how much experience Burnt had going in. I thought overall like very very solid first showing here. Just sort of one or two calls that potentially would have flipped the game. But really really nice prep on the for Giraffe, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
Sort of using that Trick Room weakness to your advantage as much as possible. Alrighty, but that's...
Not to mention, like, probably the sickest call out in the whole game, the roar on the Trick Room.
The roar on the Trick Room, that was fantastic. Alrighty, well, that is going to be it for Quick Ball this week. We got one more match for you. It is CP Sentinels versus Eggpling. Alright, so for this match, I think the really important thing of the takeaway here is Terra types. We haven't talked too much about Terra types the past two matches. I think a lot of these teams that we had this week the match wasn't affected too much by that. I think great point about the Tyranitar, the poison being a bit out there. But other than that, I think things were pretty much what people expected. Necrozma is always just a really important one to consider because of how big Terra is for it.
Yeah, this match is kind of here to showcase the value of nailing your opponent's Terra type.
Pretty much. I think going in, yeah.
Or your opponent can forget to set their Terra type and then you lose.
This is also true. This is a thing that has potentially happened today. So I'm going into this match thinking there's basically two things I'm worried about. Number one is Necrozma's Terra type. I have prepared for it to be ground. I look at my team, I see I have a pretty big ground weakness here, especially since I'm losing the flying type on Iron Jugulus. Ground is kind of an issue for me. So I see that huge ground weakness. I see Egg sees that, sort of assuming a ground Terra type here, and that ends up paying dividends. So I have a lot of ice coverage. It's really nice for Shaman. It's really nice for Brute Bonnet. Just very very good coverage all around. The other thing is I'm looking at TR, and I'm looking at TR on this team, very, very threatening. Indeedee can set it up almost without any issues. Necrozma, huge wild card, also can set it up. So I'm packing Taunt on a lot of these, on both of my leads actually, just in case. Because if TR goes up, I am kind of screwed. It's so hard for me to gain momentum back on this team with that. So that's what I'm looking at. What do you think Egg is looking at here?
Well, knowing Egg's lead, what it turns out to be,
yes,
he's going for a sweep, just like right off the bat. Like, he's kind of countering your hyper offense with like his own hyper offense lead.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yes, and that'll give us a chance to demonstrate the power of a particular move.
Yeah. That being the first move used in the game, or
probably
on turn 2?
It's on turn 1, but I think it's the second move used. So got my Quirk Drive, got my speed.
Yep. So Protect comes out first, and then Taunt.
Yeah, Taunt.
And then the move that kind of decided the whole game. Okay, well I guess it went last. is Aurora Veil.
Yes. So that AV is huge. I want to say here, I made a pretty big mistake at this point. I saw this Indeedee using Protect. I really, at this point, should have known it wasn't a TR setter, especially since it has that Shell Smash thing right next to it. This was a total sort of... I had gone into this match so focused on that, on that Trick Room being a problem for me that I go for the taunt here again, and it's a big mistake on my part when this Barbarical is on the field. But I think at this point, the AV just gives me so much sort of survivability that I wouldn't otherwise have. Really good follow me there. I take it out, going straight out into the eject button into Necrozma, which has like expanding force. Really nice set there, honestly.
Yeah, and just look at that live. That's the power of Aurora Veil.
God, it is so good. It really is. And here goes for the Terra Grunt. I think this is where Egg sees sees the ice type, sees the hail. I think you got to expect a blizzard there at some point.
Yeah, this is where the math starts mathing.
Yeah. The earth power just not doing anything even through that Terra Ground just because of that AV.
Because of single target Aurora Veil, which is actually stronger.
Is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is.
Now at this point, I'm no longer worried about TR. It's pretty obvious that there is no TR on this team at this point. So I'm just going to start hitting things as hard as I can. If this was me from another season, I might have tried to go into cloister here, set something up, but I'm like, nah, I'm just going to hit things.
No think, just hit.
Just hit. Double protect here, actually really smart from Egg, because this ends potentially my Aurora Veil. It doesn't actually end it, but it does end my Snow, which means that my Blizzards are no longer 100% accurate, which means if I happen to... I really have to worry about Blizzard missing on the Shaman here. If it does, I kind of am screwed in a big way.
Yeah.
It does not miss either, which is really nice for me. And that's huge. It's sad to lose Iron Valiant there, but at this point, I have more than enough.
Yeah, because it gives you in the free Cloister.
The free Cloister.
Which, look at these two walls. I'm going to set up on them.
Yeah, seriously, yeah. I see the taunt there, get the Shell Smash, no problem. I was really worried about the Necrozma coming in there, which is why Chi-Yu didn't come in, but at this point, neither of these can really hurt me. The Toxic does come out. AV is about to go down, but it doesn't matter at this point. I have the really... I mean, this thing is so bulky, man.
Yeah.
It survives that. That's crazy.
Yeah. But doesn't survive the double.
Does not survive the double. And there I do get my first miss. Dazzling Gleam does go through. AV goes down. But I think, yeah, so at this point, the match is pretty much over. I think the Necrozma was such a big threat because of how much of a wild card it was. When Egg saw the Vanillux, I think Egg needed to consider not Terraing there.
Yeah, I think not Terraing is always something you have to consider.
A viable
every
option. At least until it's down, right? At least until the Vanillux is down. I still had Cloister in the back, of course, and I had Ice Punch on shit. But I just think that's one of those moments where, especially when you have a Terra Captain that is so integral in a way to prep, so something either that's an S tier or anything that raises tier really, like Necrozma, just sort of being able to prep for that. Had Egg gone another Terra type here, I don't think I would have won this match. I was too prepped into ground. I was so convinced it was going to happen, and after my bad plays at the start because of the Trick Room, I think Egg had a really good shot at flipping this on me. And honestly, I want to give props on and I want to give props on that double protect play. I think, especially if you don't know that I have Light Clay on, getting that AV down is kind of enormous.
Yeah, stop calling it AV.
That's what it's called. That's what it is.
That's Assault Vest.
Okay.
Veil.
All right, fine. Anyways, any final notes on any of the matches that we had this week? I think there's something to be noted. We didn't talk about Diggory versus Peanut, but I think there's something that could be said there.
Yeah.
I think the big thing there is you have to think ahead.
How do you mean?
You can't just attack what's on the field always.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it, and just sort of, I think
it's hard because sometimes not attacking what's on the field just loses you the game.
Yeah, it's true. I think
you kind of have to have faith that your opponent is good.
Yeah. I honestly think one of the biggest things was, I think we sort of mentioned this last week in Peanut's sort of half and half team of like sort of this hyper offense set followed up with these sort of much bulkier, more balanced mons. When you go half and half in a single match like that, you do run the risk of having what happened. You do run the risk of having your tanks end up being a liability to your own momentum.
Yeah.
And I think that is what happened for Peanut. I think Peanut brought it back in the back half of the match with the sucker punch because he didn't show it off for so long. But I just think the beginning of the match could have gone so much more differently if Melodic wasn't just such a slow staller, just unable to do anything.
We didn't show the match here, but basically, Milotic stayed on the field so long that when Banded King Gambit came in at the end, he was just locked into one move and couldn't do anything.
Yeah. Alrighty.
He picked up some kills, but...
Yeah, definitely. Alright, well that is going to be this week for TDD. If we didn't talk about your match, very sorry. Some of them just we didn't have enough to say about. But overall, looking forward to next week. I think definitely looking, we still have to see from Juice. Juice is, I think, the last sort of wild card we haven't seen play yet. Everyone else, pretty impressed. I think Math, honestly, big pickup from last season. Burnt and Ned both played extremely, extremely well, but also just like I was impressed. But I'm trying to think. There's probably someone else. And I think with Kotard, it's a matter of learning the game. Yeah,
it'll come.
I think the team building was honestly pretty fine. That mind blown set would have, surprised me too, right? Like it's just hard to come back from that at some point. But overall, that's going to be it for this week. So thank you so much for watching. I've been Technovoid. This has been Hamster Wings, and we will see you next week with more match talk. Bye.
Goodbye.